Hi, my name is Luke Marushka, and I'm a sophomore at Bennett Academy. I want to thank you, Mr. Nagler, for taking time out of your day to speak with me. Would you please provide your name and some of your background information about your education and career?
Sure, and good to meet you virtually here. Eli Nagler, nice to connect. By background, I went to Harvard for college and business school, and currently am a senior managing director at Blackstone, where I focus and help leading our investments within the technology sector.
Now, I was wondering if I could ask you some questions about business ethics and how ethics have helped you answer some questions or make decisions as a business leader. Is that right with you?
Yeah, sounds great.
Do you have a set of ethical principles that you use when faced with difficult questions or situations in your career?
Sure. I think obviously ethics and how you comport yourself and how what you treat other people generally are most critical. I think reputation, I think in any business industry and frankly just in life, put aside your professional career, is of the utmost importance, and the takes a long time to build, and an easy and a not too long of a time, to destroy or destruct it. So it's something that should be taken obviously quite seriously, in addition to the fact it's just the right thing to do. And I think what I've actually found, throughout my career, whether it's at more junior stages or as careers advanced, or frankly even going back to when I was in school myself, the basic fundamental principles frankly don't change, which is really just in terms of common sense and treating people. You go all the way back to school and in earlier days, how you want to be treated yourself, and showing a degree of respect, I think is paramount. And having disagreements with people, or difference of opinion is fine. It's actually encouraged, it's healthy, and frankly is common and necessary. But how you resolve disputes or how you make your case or support your claim, depending upon the objective of what you're trying to achieve, the manner in which you do it, and how you treat various people in the process, and making sure that people's perspectives are heard, valued, thought through, considered, is critical, both in terms of just obviously doing the right thing, making people feel a part of whatever process it is that you're doing. And I also think it just generally leads to better outcomes at the end of the day. And in certain situations, you get the best results, in addition to the fact that you've done the right thing, in terms of how people have been treated and feel coming out of whatever situations you're in.
Mhm. Now, would you be able to provide an example of a situation in your business career that you faced in which you applied these principles?
Sure, sure. So I think, I think in a couple of different cases, and it's a scenario that I've dealt with a few times in different situations, and every case is a little bit different, but a relatively common theme, especially in my line of work, is it's a people-based business. So you are dealing with both when you make investments in certain companies and portfolio companies, and just with your own team internally, and the team that you work with and the team that works for you, is you'll occasionally have difficult decisions to make when different job roles open, whether it be promotions or opportunities that are available. And frankly, oftentimes you'll have many more people who will have an interest and frankly be qualified for certain situations and opportunities than there are opportunities available. And how you deal with that, and I would just say talent management in general, and how you make sure you get the right people in the right role, while also navigating what people's interests and desires are, it can occasionally be a tricky thing to navigate. And I think what I found, and the key there in a couple of different situations, especially when we've been evaluating, certain businesses, roles that have opened for promotion, and who we slot into those roles, is just having one, clear communication. So you always want to make sure that people understand whatever process you're embarking on, what is the method that you're going to approach it by, and having a line of sight and clarity of that so people can understand it. Two, be very direct as it relates to making sure that all information is shared equally, or as appropriate, equally as it can be, or as appropriate to be shared, so no one feels that they have information advantages, or somebody knows something that somebody else doesn't, and then it could obviously otherwise sometimes create tensions. And three, is being transparent about the outcome, why it was, providing a reasoning for it, not just sort of indicating this is the answer, this is the resolution, but providing a reasoning behind it, so people understand that if there's a decision that's been made and they feel that, in certain cases, people will obviously be happy and elated, and that's great. in other situations, they may feel that they missed out on an opportunity. And that's a challenging position for them to be in, to making them understand why it may not, frankly, in certain cases, be in their own interest for their own personal development or goals that they're trying to achieve, or just being very candid on why it's not in a particular company's best interest. In our case, where we have investments and we're looking for people to fill certain roles and grow companies in different directions and take it to the next level, and having them actually understand that versus it just being an answer that's provided. People will respect you for that, and as long as you do that and treat people accordingly, people can occasionally be disappointed, but they won't be surprised. And I think that's critical to ensuring that people feel that they're appropriately respected in situations, get to the best outcome.
Okay, thank you for that. And do you think that any particular business question, decision, or situation represents a difficult ethical issue?
Do I think any particular? Yeah, I think there are a few that could arise, and in a couple of different cases. I think at the highest level, situations where you're focused on short-term aspects versus long-term. And what do I mean by that? So you could have scenarios where they make decisions that could be in a short-term best interest for a company or a business, but not necessarily in the long term, when there might be different stakeholders involved at different points in time for those companies, and how you make that trade-off between the short and the long term, whether it's certain investments that are important or otherwise, is a critical aspect to it. And I think one aspect which is very pertinent and talked about frequently in the news today, that we see across almost all of our businesses at this point, frankly, within our portfolio companies, obviously has to do with climate change, an effect of that nature, where I think you should obviously have much greater awareness and realization of it. And what you see today are, there may be decisions that you can make that in the immediate term may not be, frankly, the best in terms of profitability or other competing factors or interests for a company, but over a longer period of time, I think could be in the best interest, not just generally as a good thing to do, for the environment or for just ESG considerations overall, but also even for that individual business, appreciating the fact that over the long term, those factors matter and will win out. So I think sometimes you could see different tensions, that can evolve. And I think that's, just one good example of it.
Mhm. And on to the last question. Do you have any advice that you could provide for me as I think about ethical issues that I may face one day in my career?
Sure. As I think the first piece of advice in a couple is, you will face issues. So just being aware of that, and recognizing the fact that not everything is a linear pathway, and that's okay. And being prepared to accept the fact that, sometimes you have things that are unexpected that, could come out of left field, and being in a position to cope and handle it, and how one handles those situations, and the maturity with which one approaches it, often is more defining than successes. And that's what people will remember, and frankly compliment you for, and remember you against. It's in addition to that, going back to what I said sort of at the outset, is just putting yourself in the perspective of whatever situation you're in, trying to think about what that other person's point of view or people's point of view is, and being mindful of the different considerations and communicating as transparently and directly as you can, and not hesitating or delaying for the sake of it. I think when you address things that are head on and approach it that way, regardless of what the outcome is, people will respect you for it.
Oh, well, thank you for that. And once again, thank you for your time. This has been very helpful. Wow.
No, my pleasure to do it.